Here we are, day 2 of Turn On 2023. I'm sitting with CEO of 1000 Watt Agency, Brian Boero. We're in Portland, Oregon, and they're just opening the doors. People are getting in and getting ready for kickoff here on day 2. Brian, for those that were not able to attend the conference, it's your third Turn On event.
Yeah,
right?
It's third.
All three have been here in the same.
Here in this building. Yep, the Armory here in downtown Portland.
Such a cool building. So if you caught anything on Twitter or Instagram, if you're following along, hashtag Turn On 2023, you probably saw the venue, how unique it is. Very unique event. There's not one sponsor in the lobby, which is rare for real estate conferences.
No sponsors, no booths, no exhibits, no tchotchkes. Yeah. So
what were your big takeaways? Day 1 was action-packed. I mean, poetry. We had a general speak, CEOs, team leaders, like all different viewpoints and speakers. A real nice, diverse group and lineup. What was your big takeaway listening to everybody yesterday?
Well, Byron, you're right. It was like incredibly diverse, and I think that's something that we were intent on. Right, so like you said, we had one of our.
Let's go a little closer, Brian.
Yeah. One of our team members is also a really renowned poet, and so she read some of her work. And as you mentioned, we had a United States Army general talk about her personal journey, and really what all of it was, whether it was an active duty general in the United States military or Diane Glass, who's CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Chicago, gave her story. Drew Myers at GEM told his story. It was really about people maybe sharing more than they would in other venues, and maybe even sharing more than they probably should. And it really, the spirit of openness across the board from all of the speakers is really what struck me. And what a privilege to have people come out and feel comfortable enough to share things, whether they were personal, whether they were business insights. That was really special. Everybody brought their own perspective, their own value to the stage, but I was just really taken by that people felt comfortable sharing things that maybe they haven't shared before.
I got to meet General
in
the pack yesterday. We were having a conversation with her. It was amazing that you think about the Army, and it's like, well, they must not have a talent attraction issue, but yet she's got the same struggle that so many people building their business do, where it's like, how do I find the right people, build the right culture? They fell short of recruiting last year, and I think you and I were both blown away when we heard that their campaign that we've known for so many years was trademarked. You didn't even have it for the last 15 years.
The same thing struck me, and she was talking to us and saying, frankly, and this sort of astounded me, right? This person of eminence and authority said she was kind of uncomfortable and out of her comfort zone because this wasn't her typical audience. And I don't know if it was you or Tom or somebody said, well, you're talking to an audience of people who think about recruitment every single day, right? You're with a sympathetic audience. And I think she connected in that way. And you mentioned the Be All You Can Be campaign. I mean,
fascinating.
Right. So that's an iconic advertising campaign, right? I mean, I think if you're between the ages of 30 and 50, you probably remember that campaign. And it had been sort of mothballed and shelved forever because, as she explained, the ad agency that did that campaign for them actually owned the IP, which made no sense. So they finally pried it away from their agency, and they're reviving the Be All You Can Be campaign, right? Which, I mean, gosh, talk about a case study in advertising, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to tap into people's sort of most powerful emotional reservoirs, right? About self-actualization and being the best you can be. And that campaign nailed it. So I don't know, it's an interesting tie-in a lot of ways.
How do you think about that, CEO of 1,000 Watt Agency, the premier branding agency, certainly in the real estate prop tech space. How do you think about that story for agents or team leaders or other brokerages listening right now, where you need to really own your IP and think through it of like, how am I going to position this against the trademark or in the market for ownership?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's something, Byron, that's probably even more important prior to that, which is come up with what's your message to begin with, right? I mean, you should be so lucky as to have, a campaign so good that, you're battling over, the intellectual property. But most good brokerages, most good teams, even though they might be good in this kind of context, right? You're talking to a potential recruit, you can tell your story, right? There's no campaign that sort of activates that at scale. And most team leaders, most brokerages that are out there recruiting, they're always looking for talent, right? They're not hitting the right buttons. They're talking about training, they're talking about technology, they're talking about support, they're talking about compensation. And they're kind of missing that base level notion that to connect with people and draw them to you, you need to speak to their highest aspirations and who they are emotionally, right? Not just the left side of their brain.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I was just having a conversation with some of our populations in Connecticut, and people that were originally here came here for you, by the way, and then a lot of the new agents are coming in for training and support, and it felt off. This was some feedback that we were getting, and how you message and connect with people is going to matter in terms of how long they want to stay, how they feel about the environment, the culture, and the brand.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the challenge you just described is typical, right? So you know the story, you live it, you breathe it, you can communicate it interpersonally, but that's not scalable, right? So how do you build an organization that has a unified story so that anybody on the team can tell you exactly why it's valuable to be a part of this thing and articulate it in something, kind of all ladders up to sort of this capstone of something like, for example, be all you can be, or just do it, right? Whatever. I mean, that's the tip of the iceberg.
Wow. Yeah, fascinating. So something for everybody to kind of turn on in their
Turn
minds
on.
and think about. What are you looking forward to most today here, day 2, turn on 2023?
Yeah, we got some cool speakers. So Matt Beal, who's the co-founder and CEO of Hawaii Life, just one of the most intelligent, thoughtful broker owners in the country. He's also number one in Hawaii, right? Massively successful.
Great brand.
Oh, tremendous brand, right? I mean, what they've done everything right. And Matt's going to do what he always does, which is to sort of come at something from a totally different angle. And that's why he's here, because he always brings that perspective. And we're doing a live workshop too.
I know
Jimmy Mackin's doing a live workshop. We're going to pick somebody from the audience. Jimmy, CEO, curator, just one of the greatest marketers in this business, period, right?
He's a great Twitter follow, because you'll get insights to how he's thinking about copywriting in real time.
Yeah.
And if you like, you can take it and use it for something.
Totally. So he's going to come on stage. We're going to grab somebody from the audience. And then Jessica Sweezy from our team, right, who's our lead copywriter, we're going to kind of interview this guy and sort of put together a little campaign for him in real time. It's a bit of a high wire act. We're going to see if it works, but that's what we're going to try.
Because Jim is very quick on his feet.
He's very quick on his feet. Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. Clayton Collins will be here today.
Yeah.
CEO of Housing Wire.
CEO of Housing Wire. Super smart guy. He's got I think he's got a good story. What Clayton's trying to do is really sort of bridge the gap between the mortgage industry and the real estate industry, right? So he's got Housing Wire, which he started in 2016. They acquired Real Trends a couple of years ago, and they're trying to, kind of connect these industries that in many ways are sort of siloed off, mortgage and real estate, right? I mean, they statutorily, right, through RESPA, they're separated in certain ways, but there are so many dependencies between these two industries that typically do not really speak to each other.
That's right. We talked about Housing Wire and use a lot of the their information on the hot sheet every single day.
Yeah.
So I love it, Logan, and certainly Clayton. I'm hoping to get a chance to say hello to him before he goes up there today.
Yeah. He'll be walking through here soon.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna let you go because I know you got a big day ahead.
Yeah.
Brian Boero, CEO of 1000 Watt. Make sure you're following Brian on Twitter as well. What's your handle?
1000 Watt Brian.
1000 Watt Brian.
Yeah. Byron, thank you for doing this. You're awesome.
Absolutely.
The best.
Thank you, Brian.
You
Appreciate
bet.
it. Good luck today.
All right. Thank you.
And we're gonna keep rolling here live. So, you're good.
I'm out.
You're
All right.
out. You're out. You got a lot to do today. So go ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
We're gonna keep going live. We're gonna grab a few more people from the lobby here, and we're gonna stay live and chat it up. We're gonna get some more reactions from this, from the audience and the speakers from yesterday. So, and I'll run down this list. This was, Brian and I mentioned it, but it was a very diverse list of speakers yesterday. We had, by the way, Jill Biggs will be going up today. We didn't mention Jill. Love Jill, friend of mine. Karen Bonder, she was a biologist with a twist. She spoke yesterday. So, talking about reframing the role of real estate agents as the professors of place. I'd love to get somebody's reaction to that. I missed it. I was out here. Bruce Turkle, a creative entrepreneur, talking about it's all about them. Okay, it's all about the client. And I didn't hear his talk. I'd love to get somebody else's reaction on Bruce's as well. But listen, if we're not creating products or messaging and ads that make it all about the client, it's going to really, really be a disconnect. In October, we know that there is a huge lawsuit looming, and the more we make it about them, about the client, and really resonate with how they're feeling about the process and what they want out of the process, the more we're going to win in this thing. Vanessa Riley, who Brian mentioned, she's the chief real estate officer of Domo Realty. She spoke. Ken Robbins was here yesterday. Amanda Azobuk, she is the deputy commanding general, U.S. Army Cadet Command. Very impressive. I got to spend some time with her in the green room yesterday, and that's where we told that story about the All You Can Be campaign, that the Army actually didn't have rights to be all you can be for 15 years. The ad agency that came up with that campaign had it trademarked, and so the Army had to negotiate it back. And this year, for the first time, they're using that campaign, Be All You Can Be. They were short of recruiting efforts, the Army, by 15,000 last year. So that shows you how hard recruiting is, right? Or maybe the lack of interest right now in people joining the Army. I don't know. Maybe that tells you that, but it's recruiting overall is a really hard game. Matthew Ferrara, who is a philosopher, he is also a marketing mind that's been in real estate for quite some time. I got to chat with Matthew on the sidewalk yesterday. I'm going to be doing a podcast with Matthew later this year. I'm looking forward to that. If you've ever heard Matthew speak, let me know in the comments. There was a poetry read. Tom Ferry and Mark Davison did an interview. I did a quick talk yesterday. Diane Glass, Sharon Shrivatsa. We did a podcast with Sharon, which will go out in 2 weeks? 2 weeks. We're gonna drop that. Drew Myers, who we mentioned, Lindsay Dreyer. So it was an action-packed day. What I ended up, and I'll just share it with you all here on the live before we grab some more reactions from as the lobby starts to fill up here at Turn On. What I shared on stage was breaking the spell, how to see beyond the headlines. And so right now, I believe we've got two classes of, real estate mindset, two classes in really everything, right? If you think about politics, there's certainly two classes. Nobody's in the middle anymore. If you just think about equity levels, there's two classes. There's people who got money and people who don't. And we'll let that pass over. There you go. And then in just the way people are thinking about things, you've got two classes when it relates to headlines. People are saying, don't pay attention to headlines. Just stick to the basics of real estate. And stick to the basics is in regards to work ethic. Okay, back to the basics means the time that you have to put into this in 2023 is much different than 2021. 2023, over 6 million existing home sales happened. NAR just came out, and we talked about on the hot sheet today with their seasonally adjusted number. It's going to be 4.5 million. So that's up from 4 million in January, but 4.5 million this year is a long way off from 6.5 million in 2021. This market is not 2021. Back to the basics is the work ethic, the amount of time you're putting into this. If it took you one call to convert, it takes you 4. It's like a 4-to-1 ratio on the amount of calls that we should be making right now. Okay, so back to the basics does not mean ignore what's going on around you day to day. It doesn't mean that you can turn that off because you are going to sound irrelevant when you talk to anybody who has any conscience on what's going on with the US economy. And then you've got a camp who's leaning into the headlines, who's willing to debate it out, who's willing to have a point of view, who's willing to go deeper into the story so that they can take a position and have all the data, which is changing every single day. See, if you just go back to the basics and don't pay attention to the headlines, you end up saying things like, it's always a good time to buy, or which we know it's not, because there have been buyers this year who have locked in at 7.25 and buyers who have locked in at 5.75. Okay, so that could be within the same week. That's how volatile the situation is. So always a good time to buy is always really bad advice. It's a personalized discussion. It's a deeper level. If you sit down with a financial planner and you say, I want to retire at 65, they're not going to run just one scenario for you. They're going to say, well, this is what it would look like if you wanted to retire at 60. How about 55? This is what you would need to do every single month to be able to get there. And they're going to paint different scenarios for you. The agent, the knowledge broker, the person who's willing to lean into the dramatization of headlines, the clickbait of headlines, go deeper, absorb this information as a daily practice, is going to be able to articulate what's happening on a day-to-day, ever-changing environment to the people that they're trying to serve at a much higher level. And listen, I just believe leaning into the toxic, environment, if you want to call it that, the drama, the debate, is really going to separate that agent, that when we go through whatever we're going to go through in the fall with the lawsuits and all this stuff, that they're going to be able to command a higher fee. And then the people that are just like, just ignore the headlines and it's always a good time to buy, those are going to be agents that we classify as door openers or order takers, agents that certainly don't command a fee because they don't have the information, they don't have the authority, they don't have the knowledge to be able to move the needle, to be able to share with the consumer the information that they need to make real decisions, to be that attorney level in their camp. And so they'll be opening a door and they'll be collecting a paycheck, a very small paycheck for that, right? Right now, you can be, and certainly 2021, 2020, you could be a door opener and order taker and you could earn 6 figures. It's going to be harder and harder to do that as we move through 2023 and certainly 2024 as the fall lawsuits kind of shake out and we see what happens there. It's going to be hard to make 2.5 times the average income as just an order taker, as just a door opener or task taker. It's going to, the people that are getting the higher fees, that are commanding, a larger commission are going to be those agents that are able to share information at a really deep level, be able to articulate all the different sources and have the experience to back it up, and really navigate week by week situations. We're all looking forward to hopefully a 2024 or 2025 where the market isn't as volatile as it is right now, where you can have like an interest rate that kind of sticks for a 30-day period. But that's certainly not what we're experiencing right now in 2023. So as people are getting seated now, Sterling, Real Estate Creative, shout out to Sterling. If I was stranded on an island, would I still do the hot sheet? I absolutely would. We do the hot sheet whether I'm on Pacific Coast time. If I was in Bangkok, like Eric, the broke agent, is right now, I would be doing the hot sheet. It doesn't matter. We're committed to the hot sheet. This is what, week 10 of the hot sheet? I think this is week 10. So we're week 10 of the hot sheet. We're going to keep doing it. I wanted to grab a few more reactions as people are sitting down, but I think most people are sitting down right now, so I don't think that's going to happen. Anything else? Oh, there's Matthew. I could have grabbed him, but he's going in. All right, let's wrap up this live. I've really enjoyed being here at Turn On. It's been an incredible event. This is the third one. I think they're going to do another one next year. If you ever get a chance to come to anything that 1000 Watt puts on, I would certainly encourage that, or at least joining their newsletter. Mark Davison and Brian Boero, co-founders, are just incredible thinkers in this space, and they push the envelope to the edges of how we should really be thinking about our business and thinking about our brands. And so start to absorb some of their content. Certainly follow them on Twitter, get into their newsletter, get into their space. This event has been wildly eye-opening to me, and I've really enjoyed it. So hope you guys enjoyed the live streams, and we got podcasts coming from this event over the next couple weeks. Starting this Sunday will be the first podcast from Turn On. So hope you enjoy. This Sunday it's going to be Tom Ferry and Jill Biggs, the three of us. This was right before Tom went up and spoke. Jill speaking today. So look for that on Sunday here on the BAM channel. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thank you, and be well.